All right, today we're jumping into one of the most famously strange and honestly unsettling stories ever written, Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. We're going to treat this as a deep dive, a case study, into a feeling we've all probably had at some point: alienation. So let me start by asking you a question, one that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. What if you woke up one day and your body just wasn't yours anymore? What if it suddenly turned on you, trapping your mind, your thoughts, your entire sense of self inside a form that you couldn't recognize or even control?
Well, that's exactly what happens to our protagonist, Gregor Samsa. But here's the thing you have to understand. Even before he literally changes, Gregor was already pretty isolated. He's this overworked traveling salesman stuck in a soul-crushing job just to pay off his family's debts. He was already a kind of drone. And then, bam, one morning, that inner feeling becomes his outer reality. He wakes up and finds he's been transformed into a giant, grotesque insect. And this right here really paints the picture, doesn't it? As a man, Gregor's entire identity was just his job. He was the breadwinner, the guy paying the bills. His value, his worth in his family's eyes was completely tied to his usefulness. But as an insect, he can't work, he can't provide. All that utility is just gone. And as we're about to see, when his usefulness disappears, so does his family's affection.
You know, this is the real tragedy of the story. The absolute horror isn't just that he looks like a monster, it's that inside that shell, he's still Gregor. He has all his human anxieties, his memories, his feelings. He's a human mind trapped inside a prison of a body that makes him a complete outcast in his own home, with no way to tell anyone, hey, it's still me in here. But you know, this story is just as much about the family's transformation as it is about Gregor's. So let's really dig in and track how their initial shock and maybe even concern just slowly sours into pure resentment. In the beginning, you see this little glimmer of hope. His sister, Greet. She steps up. She brings him food. She tries to take care of him. But that compassion, it has a really short shelf life. His father becomes openly hostile, at one point literally attacking him with an apple, leaving him wounded. And as the money gets tight, the family just starts to see him as a problem, an obstacle in their way. Then comes the final gut punch. Greet, the one person who tried to protect him, is the one who says they have to get rid of it. Not him, it. So yeah, this is the key. The whole story is a masterclass in alienation. And it's not just about being lonely. For Gregor, it's this deep, profound state of being an outcast. It's a disconnect from his own body, yeah, but it's also an isolation that's forced on him by the very people who are supposed to love him, all because they now see him as nothing more than a burden. And this brings us to what the story calls the burden of being. This is where we see the family's cold, hard pragmatism, their basic survival instinct, just completely stamp out whatever affection they had left for Gregor. I mean, Gregor literally becomes a prisoner in his own room. To make ends meet, the family has to rent out a room to these 3 lodgers. This means Gregor becomes this shameful secret that has to be hidden at all costs. It's all about keeping up appearances for society, right? That becomes way more important than caring for their son. And of course, the moment the lodgers find out about him, well, that's the final straw. And it's really worth repeating this point. It's Gretcha, the one who showed him the most kindness at the start, who leads the charge to get rid of him. It's just the ultimate betrayal, and it shows you how quickly our supposed bonds can crumble under the weight of shame and convenience. And that brings us to the final, and I mean chilling, act of the story. It's a liberation, all right? Because for the Samsa family, Gregor's death isn't a tragedy. It's a solution. It is that simple and that brutal. After hearing his family say they want him gone, Gregor just gives up. He goes back to his room and he dies. And for them, it's a massive relief. The burden is finally lifted. Just look at this table. It says it all. When Gregor was alive, the family was miserable, burdened, just trying to survive and keep their secret. But after he's gone, they're immediately relieved, even optimistic. They leave the apartment, they take a day off, they start planning for a bright new future. It's like his death was the best thing that could have happened to them. And that's the deeply uncomfortable question Kafka leaves us with. It forces you to look around at your own life, your own society. When a person's usefulness is gone, when they can't work, can't contribute in the way we expect, what's left? What is it that truly makes us human? There's no easy answer, and that's probably why this story still gets under our skin more than 100 years later.